Hey, welcome back, everybody. Great show. You're listening to What About Nutrition on Westplex Radio, and I've got David Gall from O'Fallon Nutrition in the studio with our very, very special guest. We're going to get back into action because this is moving along unbelievably fast, and we have a lot of ground to cover.
Oh, that is right, Steve. So, folks, we have just been talking about the development of arterial plaque and the idea that it's not quite so simple as just you eat a cheeseburger and it stuffs your arteries full of cholesterol. And Phil Hess here from New Chapter, a former pharmaceutical sales rep who now works in the nutrition industry, has been explaining to us how the development of arterial plaque is based on issues such as inflammation in the cardiovascular system within the artery that the immune system responds to by releasing white blood cells, and then oxidized cholesterol combines with that and starts to form almost like a boil inside of the artery, not being technical here. And then eventually that boil ruptures and releases all of that toxic plaque, tends to clot. Blood clots can break off and contribute directly to stroke or heart attack. Phil, does that sound like kind of like a quick and dirty summary kind of what you're saying?
That's as good as it gets, Dave. You painted a very clear picture for our listeners.
Great movie,
there.
by the way.
Yeah, The Attack of the Plaque.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. So Phil, we were just talking during the break. We mentioned earlier in segment 1 this jaw-dropping statistic that over half of folks who have heart attacks have normal or low cholesterol levels. Mm-hmm. And that leads me, I just use a little bit of my logical thinking skills to think, well, geez, if only half or fewer folks who have heart attacks have high cholesterol, there must be more going on there. And we were talking during the break about this other little-known test called C-reactive protein. What do you have to say about that, Phil?
Well, it's a test that's given by many cardiologists. A lot of your internists won't do it for whatever reason. But nevertheless, it is a risk. It's a test that's what basically it does is C-reactive protein is a protein in the body whose level increases when there's inflammation of blood vessels.
Okay.
And it's been suggested that C-reactive protein may provide a new way to assess cardiovascular disease risk. Mm-hmm. But basically, what happens is C-reactive protein, it's a chemical necessary for fighting injury and infection. It's made in the liver in response to inflammation somewhere in the body.
Okay.
And while high cholesterol causes fatty buildups in the blood vessel walls, along with the white blood cells,
sure,
heart attacks are triggered when inflammation causes deposits to break off and clog an artery.
I see.
So the C-reactive protein test is a test that measures inflammation. And it's
Wow.
an easy to do, easy to administer test that's routinely done by many cardiologists. Oftentimes, some of the patients out there who are suffering with cardiovascular disease are well aware of their cholesterol scores.
Right.
They're looking at cholesterol, but they have no idea what their C-reactive protein scores are.
Of course. Well, that's a great point, Phil. So that was a really elegant explanation of C-reactive protein. So what you're saying is that C-reactive protein is a score we can look at, and it measures a protein that goes up directly in correlation with inflammation of the arteries?
Yes.
Wow. So what a wonderful test to directly measure inflammation of the arteries. And I wonder, Phil, is C-reactive more closely correlated with rates of heart attack than cholesterol?
I don't know for sure. Okay,
okay.
I know, but it is a major risk factor.
Well, I'm pretty sure that I've read some things about that. There's a Dr. Steven Sinatra, MD, who is a cardiologist out of Cedars-Sinai, which is a pretty prestigious hospital. And from what I've read in his book, I believe what he says is that C-reactive protein correlates very, very well with heart attack risk. So folks can Google it out there. I'm not going to claim any specific statistics, but from what I remember my reading with Dr. Steven Sinatra is that C-reactive protein is almost always high in folks who have heart attacks, whereas the cholesterol is high only approximately half of the time. So I'm going to go out on a limb there and kind of put that claim out there.
Another thing too to consider is the test scores.
Sure.
C-reactive protein scores are actually measured.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a score above 3 milligrams per liter, That's considered high. And people with high levels of C-reactive protein are almost 3 times likely to die of a heart attack.
Okay, so that's a great statistic for us to bring out. So folks with these higher levels of C-reactive protein are known to be 3 times more likely to die of a heart attack.
Correct. And a score of 3, which it's not uncommon to find people with scores of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15 out there.
Sure.
Very routine. But a 3 is the break point.
So that's a measurement of the inflammation within their arteries. And it's important for folks to know, we've also been discussing this in our break, and I was just discussing this with our staff member, Dr. Jim, at our store today. And what Dr. Jim was pointing out is this issue that cholesterol is not just bad, that the body also uses the cholesterol for certain healing mechanisms within the body, and that cholesterol is actually an antioxidant made by the body as well. And Jim was pointing out the idea that cholesterol often goes up in response to a injury within some part of the body, that the body is trying to use cholesterol to address that injury. Have you heard about that issue, Phil?
Yeah, cholesterol is made by the liver. In fact, cholesterol is very important because you cannot make a cell membrane without cholesterol.
Right.
Because that's what your cell membranes are made out of. So your body is constantly repairing itself, and it needs cholesterol to make cell membranes.
Exactly.
Furthermore, vitamin D3 that we all need in our body, vitamin D3 is in our cell. It's converted. It's actually converted cholesterol. The cholesterol that's in our cell membranes of our skin gets exposed to the sun, and then vitamin D3 is made from the cholesterol in our cell membranes.
So that's an important role of cholesterol in our health.
Yes, the only cholesterol becomes very dangerous when it becomes oxidized. Okay.
So when it becomes oxidized, and that can happen as a result of insufficient antioxidants in the diet, that can happen as a result of increased oxidation. We can create more oxidation through things like exercise actually increases oxidation, although exercise is good for you. A poor diet increases oxidation. If you eat rancid fats, for example, in junk food, that increases oxidation. Smoking, consuming excessive amounts of alcohol, lack of sleep, and stress are all known contributors to increased oxidation. Right, Phil?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Dave.
Okay.
So what you want to do is you want to get inflammation under control. You want to cut down the body's production of free radicals. You can't really cut down the production, especially if you're exercising. What you want to do is eat foods that help to bind those free radicals up.
That makes sense. And those are foods that are those compounds that bind up those free radicals are known as antioxidants.
Correct.
And we get those from fruits. Berries are particularly high in them. Superfoods, we hear about acai juice and goji, and of course we sell all those things at O'Fallon Nutrition. And then you have your classic antioxidants, your vitamin C, your vitamin E, your mineral selenium, your mineral zinc. Vitamin A is an antioxidant. So those all play a role in this. And then what we're kind of leading to, and by the way, I want to mention, Steve asked in our first segment today about smoking. And this is a great time to mention, Steve, what smoking does is it dramatically increases oxidation.
Okay, so we were talking about that statistic that over half of everyone who has a heart attack has normal or low cholesterol,
right,
which was a shocking statistic in one of the pinnacles of this program.
Right. And a much higher percentage of higher levels of C-reactive protein, that marker of inflammation.
Exactly. And my question was, we know that heavy smoking in particular contributes greatly to heart attacks because of the constrictive nature. I understand it has to do with
it
as well.
It constricts the blood vessels, dramatically increases oxidation. When your oxidation goes up, the blood vessels become more brittle. They lose their elasticity, which also causes an increase in blood pressure.
Yeah.
And the body tries to use cholesterol, for example, as one of the, almost like a paste to help shore up these brittle and cracked arteries. And so we actually can have injuries. When these cracks develop, it's like an injury. Cholesterol is released in response to that. The white blood cells, they firm it up, but then they create these almost, believe it or not, boil-like structures. If you want a wonderful description of this book, Reverse Heart Disease Now, again, by Dr. Steven Sinatra, MD, cardiologist, Cedars-Sinai. He's a big shot. And he exposes what he describes as the cholesterol myth.
Wow.
And what a wonderful comment, Steve. And I think we should take our last 2.5 minutes of the show here and talk about incredibly powerful tools we have to mitigate this inflammation and oxidation within the cardiovascular system, and Phil's company makes some of the best.
Thank you, Dave, and I think we do. But I want to talk about some of the top ways just to cool the heat of inflammation without spending a nickel. Okay?
Sure.
Number one, let's lose weight, because increase weight, increase
Right.
inflammation. Floss regularly. People who have gingivitis have 3 times the risk of heart attack.
Great point.
Get rid of your allergies. Keep your allergies under control, because that's inflammation. Avoid inflammatory foods like fried foods, because they're rich in arachidonic acid, which lead to inflammation.
Sure.
You want to spice your diet up. Get some turmeric, get some ginger,
Yes.
get some rosemary in your diet, because that will lower inflammation.
Right.
Those spices lower inflammation. Unleash the power of exercise. It's been shown that women who walk 3 miles every three times a week significantly lower their C-reactive protein scores.
Wow.
You want to increase your antioxidant intake by eating more berries for reasons we've just explained. You want to decompress, relax, laugh, keep a journal, because stress increases your
Wonderful
your
points.
inflammation.
Studies
as
on
well.
meditation, I believe, show an improved benefit from that. Well, so with 1 minute to go here, Phil, I'm going to go ahead and mention, so Phil's company is New Chapter that he works with, and they do have a wonderful polyherbal, which is a mixed herbal supplement known as Zyflamend. It's the best-selling herbal combination supplement in our industry, designed to address inflammation. It is built around the herb turmeric, which we already know is an all-star, but it has, I think, about 9 other herbs in it, Phil.
Many of them are already in your spice drawer.
Right.
Rosemary, turmeric, ginger.
Green tea
Who's saying
extract.
green tea? It's not just an anti-inflammatory, but it's a very potent antioxidant as well.
Right, right. And
what-
it's the subject of ongoing studies at MD Anderson Cancer Center, the Cleveland Clinic, and www.newchapter.com is the website for New Chapter. I would encourage everybody to look at it. They have great science there on that website, really legitimizes it. And New Chapter also makes a wonderful extra virgin salmon oil known as Omega that I won't spend much time on, but if you're looking for an excellent very low processing fish oil, I would highly suggest looking into Omega in conjunction with possibly Zyflamend. And Phil, you did a great job explaining that diet, spices in the diet, reduction of sugar, increasing exercise, etc., can all help us with these issues for free.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, Phil, thanks so much for being here. You did a wonderful job explaining this. And Steve, I mean, my mind is blown right now.
Yeah, it really is. What a great show, and I'm sure we'll be repeating the show as well.
Definitely.
Folks, it's O'Fallon Nutrition, and it is the program What About Nutrition on this radio station. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back next week, same time, with another What About Nutrition. So,
Hey, thanks, everybody. Look forward to next week.
Absolutely. Steve Casper, David Gall, and thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.